Sagun, in an attempt to shed light on the situation, turned to Elder Gamyoung and shared his insight. He suspected that young warrior Yun had been poisoned with the deadly 7-step snake poison. This venom was known to be lethal, capable of killing its victim before they could even take the 7th step. Sagun emphasized the urgency of Yun receiving immediate treatment, warning that his life would be in grave danger without it. Elder Gamyoung expressed confusion, questioning how Yun could be suffering from such an extreme poison when the other members seemed to be affected by a paralysis poison. He couldn't understand how Yun ended up in this critical condition. In a weak and sickly voice, Yun implicated Zhang as the person who had done something to him. Zhang, taken aback, denied any knowledge of what Yun was talking about. His mind raced, realizing he hadn't taken any action yet. Suyun, adopting a serious tone, demanded that Zhang hand over the antidote immediately. The urgency in her voice reflected the gravity of the situation and the need for immediate action. Zhang, feeling defensive, expressed his outrage at being suspected. He emphasized that he hadn't even used the poison yet and believed that Yun had collapsed on his own accord. Kwang, emanating a strong and serious aura, added to the tension. He urged Zhang to comply with their request and hand over the antidote. Chun abruptly interrupted the tense situation, brandishing his sword. He directed his attention towards warrior Kwang, reproaching him for threatening their ally and causing a commotion. Chun expressed his frustration, unable to contain his emotions any longer. Meanwhile, Elder Q, affected by the poison, lay on the ground, coughing and expressing his disapproval of their behavior in such a critical situation. Yun realized that Tang Zhong had used a specific poison, but he had prepared his own same poison for such a situation. On the other hand, Zhong, feeling the pressure, knew he had to dispose of the poison immediately. He believed that as long as there was no evidence, he could avoid any consequences. Suddenly, Kwang rushed towards Zhong, grabbing his wrist and questioning his actions. Chun, caught off guard, had not noticed Kwang's swift movement. In surprise, he swung his sword, trying to halt Kwang's actions. With swift precision, Kwang skillfully wielded his sword, effortlessly targeting Chun and sending him crashing to the ground. Chun, taken aback by the impact, couldn't fathom the strength behind Kwang's attack. Kwang, standing tall, expressed his realization that Chun and Zhang had formed some kind of alliance. He had tolerated their interference until now, but his patience had reached its limit. Unyielding, Kwang declared that he could no longer tolerate their actions. With a powerful punch, he struck Chun's face, causing him to flip backward before landing on the ground. Looking down at Chun, Kwang asserted that Chun did not deserve to hold a sword, challenging his worthiness as a warrior. Kwang, with determination in his voice, demanded that Zhang hand over the antidote. Zhang flustered, furiously denied using poison and claimed innocence. In an act of frustration, Kwang kicked Zhang, causing the poison to be revealed. Sagun quickly recognized it as the 7-step snake poison. Zhang, still in disbelief, maintained his innocence, acknowledging that he had been carrying the poison but had never used it. Kwang, consumed by anger, warned Zhang that he was pushing the limits. However, Zhang, realizing the gravity of the situation, surrendered and agreed to comply, revealing the antidote. After receiving the antidote, all the men who were poisoned began to recover, their conditions improving significantly. Chun, with a punch to his face, contemplated whether he could win if he were to fight Kwang again. However, upon meeting Kwang's intense gaze, Chun realized the futility of such a battle. He reluctantly admitted defeat, acknowledging that he couldn't emerge victorious against Kwang. Elder Q observed Chun silently, inwardly expressing his disappointment in Chun's behavior. Meanwhile, Elder Gamyoung suggested that they consider retreating and returning at a later time. However, Q rejected the idea, emphasizing their responsibility as members of the Tang clan to explore the tomb to its very end in the name of the Murim Alliance. Yun, determined to continue their journey, felt relieved by Q's decision. He knew that there would be a deadly trap awaiting them if they proceeded further. Yun resolved to take this opportunity to finally defeat Kwang. Suddenly, Kwang approached Yun, causing Yun to wonder if Kwang had noticed something. Kwang extended his hand towards Yun, expressing concern for his well-being. Yun, taken aback by Kwang's unexpectedly considerate gesture, couldn't help but wonder about the reason behind this sudden change in behavior. The group continued moving forward within the tomb, determined to press on despite the challenges they had faced. As they ventured deeper, a man's voice rang out, exclaiming that they had found the treasure of the astral phantom thief. Everyone stood in awe, marveling at the sight of the treasure before them, gleaming golds and dazzling jewelry. The discovery left them speechless and filled with disbelief. Hugh, unable to contain his astonishment, expressed his amazement at the find. Seopong, with his arms wrapped around Sang's shoulder, proudly stated that his intuition had been correct. Sang agreed, acknowledging Seopong's genius. Kwang expressed his excitement, acknowledging the presence of the treasures they had discovered. However, Yoon dismissed the treasures as mere traps left behind by those who came before them. He believed that these treasures were not genuine and criticized the inability of others to discern between real and fake. Segun observed Yoon, admiring his ability to remain composed in the face of such tempting treasures. He marveled at his extraordinary nature, recognizing him as a truly remarkable individual. As the man approached the treasure and touched it, Q's voice warned him to step back. He declared that anyone who dared to touch the treasure would face severe punishment. Just as Q moved towards the altar, Seopong intervened, cautioning him to wait. He suspected that the situation might be a trap and urged everyone to be cautious. Acknowledging Seopong's warning, Q proceeded with care. He opened the treasure box and was astounded by what he found. Inside were the legendary martial arts manuals, including the Yellow Emperor Supreme Sword Technique, the Heavenly Thundercloud Cultivation Technique, and the Monkey King Divine Palm. Q realized the immense power these techniques held and believed that mastering them could elevate him to the position of leader within the Murim Alliance. However, before Q could grasp the martial arts manuals, Kwang swiftly stopped his hand. Startled, Q demanded to know why Kwang was interfering and insisted that he release his hand immediately. Kwang calmly responded to Q, reminding him of his earlier statement about severe punishment for anyone who touched the treasure. Q, filled with anger, lashed out, asserting his authority as the one in charge and questioning who would dare to punish him. The entire tomb fell silent as the members of the Murim Alliance watched Q intently, their expressions serious and focused. Chun, in particular, was furious at the audacity of Q's actions, while Segun stood with a serious demeanor, observing the situation closely. Q thinks about the possibility of secretly taking one of the martial arts manuals and escaping into the mountains to learn its techniques. He believed that possessing those skills would grant him the power to defeat Kwang effortlessly. He sensed that if things continued in this manner, a real fight would inevitably ensue. Yoon proposed a solution, suggesting that they seal the treasure box as it is and bring it back to the Murim Alliance for safekeeping. However, Elder Gamyoung furiously opposed the idea, declaring that he had already decided to move all the treasures to the Tang clan. Yoon questioned Gamyoung whether he had the confidence to take responsibility for the potential consequences that could arise once the secret manuals entered the Tang clan. Gamyoung fell into silence, unable to provide a response. Segun supported Yoon's viewpoint, agreeing that it would be best to bring the treasures back to the Murim Alliance. Yoon emphasized that their mission as an expedition team would only be considered complete once they safely delivered the secret manuals to the Murim Alliance. Reluctantly, Q agreed to the suggestion, acknowledging that bringing the treasures back to the Murim Alliance was the preferable course of action. Go, go, go.